I was wondering if you see gaming as becoming an assessment tool for distance models in education, like a simulated performance task. You see a lot of, in a lot of classrooms, they want less paper and pencil tests. They want application of concepts and skills in a real world scenario. And this seems to be a place where it could work. And I think one of the questions around distance models, which seems to be the next step, is the lack of social community. People are wondering, where's that social emotional growth going to come from? Do you think this could be a solution for that? And if it is, who's doing that kind of work?
Oh, those are great questions. So first off, I would argue that video games are going to sit in sort of the ecology of media the same way that radio did and television does and movie does, which means that they will never replace face-to-face. They will sit sort of in an ecology where there's a role for them, but that doesn't eliminate the role for face-to-face interaction, for example. But and that said, I think it's a little bit of the Wild West right now, trying to figure out what does the new model of distance learning, e-learning, whatever terminology we want to put on it, what does that look like? Because we know it's coming, and we have this very strong hunch that it's a solution to some of the issues around finance and education, especially in higher education conversations. But I think it's a really open question, thinking about, what exactly does that model look like? Where do you do do you do a flipped model? Do you do a blended model? In my own instruction, I go much more for a blended model than much else. But I will, again, reemphasize the point that JSB was making, was that, again, learning happens with people, and the technology can facilitate and structure that interaction, or it can get in the way, right? Our job ought to be to create technology that enables human beings to get together and solve problems, engage in problems that are meaningful to us, and engage in great conversation around that. And I think it's interesting how it's very easy to look at a game title played on something like a Nintendo DS or an iPad and mistake it for a solitary game, when in fact, if you start looking at the fandom communities around it, there are very few games that are purely solitary. Most of them have that sort of thriving community.